Why is it that even after the hard work of the Madlanga Commission, us sitting there for hours and hours listening to people's testimonies, listening to allegations that are following these people, and the recommendations that follows, then we hear people being exonerated by their own departments or their own institutions? What is happening in the Hawks, EMPD, and Ekurhuleni is really embarrassing. And I wanted us to actually talk about these three departments and what is actually going on with them. What makes things worse is the information that was revealed by Fikile Mbalula when he had an ENCA interviewed and even said that we should clap hands for Senzo Mchunu instead of actually asking for accountability from the on-leave Minister of Police. Let us get to it.
This leader. That is what every citizen should applaud, because he has done the right thing. Madlanga Commission has not concluded its work. It has not said Senzo is on the wrong side. We can't act on prejudice about people. We must be guided by processes. But what a comrade, a cadre, a leader has done, it is applauded that voluntarily you take a decision to say, okay, I'm faced with this. I don't want my party to have a burden to explain itself about me. Let me stand for it. That's what Senzo has done.
Is he facing DC? Has he faced?
He's not facing DC. He has appeared before the Integrity Commission.
Yes.
The Integrity Commission will conclude on those matters.
They haven't concluded yet.
They have not concluded because they have not given me the report. They gave me the 5 reports. When they conclude, they will give me the report. They will present it to the NEC. We'll do as we do all the time.
So after the interim report of the Madlanga Commission, Sinona was part of the people that were supposed to be suspended because of the allegations that he was faced with. And not just Sinona, we also know that Captain Mukhatlwe, who was at the scene of Katiso Molefe, also was faced with a lot of allegations and how he went there to disrupt the work of the PKTT. But we're also hearing that this man is about to go back to work. Not just that, Ekurhuleni fails yet again to find Mr. Lerutla guilty enough to actually put him on suspension, or even if they don't find him guilty, they actually put him on suspension just for sake of morality and say, you know what, let us do the right thing by putting this person on suspension and think actually for the people, the Madlanga Commission, the community. Let us actually allow this person to plead their case and tell us why he should not be dismissed from work. They failed. Instead, they're brushing us with that brush of, no, we've suspended 15 officers, and with that suspension of 15 officers, that is enough. We have done our work. But is that enough, really? Let us first start with the JMPD. So if you guys can remember, the officer Mukhatlwe was actually the JMPD officer who was really implicated at the Madlanga Commission, especially in the 6th operation of December, when he went at the house of Katiso Molefe and went and distracted the work of the PKTT.
Where we saw the Hawks, of which is the PCI, came in large numbers. And then we also saw an helicopter hovering in that house while we were there. At that time, I was there, but I also learned that the team has an encounter with a person who later known to us as John Mukhatle, a JMPD officer. I know this because at the later stage we had to do some investigation, of which I was part, and I ended up visiting his commanders just to determine if he was there in what capacity. And I learned that he was there after he was released from his workplace because he was unwell. He was supposed to go home and rest, but we find him at the crime scene, fully operating, confronting officers that were at work.
So what happened in that particular case is that the PKTT went to raid the house of Katiso Molefe and actually arrest him, and the Hawks came there. But one of the most important people that went to that particular scene was an officer of the Imukhat. What is weird is that Mukhatlo was actually on leave, and he said that he had a running tummy, he's sick, and didn't go to work on that particular day. But we found out that on the day of this particular raid, he was there. And he was disrupting the work of the PKTT. He went there to even take the number plates of the PKTT members. A lot was just happening with him.
It happened that Mr. Molefe activated the JMPD officer MAKGATLE to come and confirm what he was suspecting around his house.
For this commission, that there is other involvement of police officers. An example that I'm putting here is one police officer from Johannesburg Metro. This police officer is a very close associate of the arrested Mr. Katiso Molefe. On the 5th of February 2025, this Metro Police Officer, Johannes MAKGATLE, who works at JMPD, he deposited a statement, an affidavit, during the investigation that was conducted by GCI Ops following the arrest of Mr. Molefe.
And after this testimony that was given regarding him at the Madlanga Commission, especially after the testimony of Witness A and Witness B, the EMPD concluded that this man should be put on suspension.
The officer, Johannes MAKGATLE, faces charges for illegally using a council vehicle to drive to the house of an alleged underworld boss, Katiso Molefe.
And he was then suspended. But then we're also finding out that this man now is coming back. We don't know if we went through disciplinary proceedings. What are the outcomes of the disciplinary proceedings? He just went back to work.
Are 2 people currently under investigation in JMPD?
Yes.
Is there a disciplinary process happening?
Yes, the first one, there is a disciplinary hearing. The other one, because we got the I would say more information lately, but we are dealing with that. Our internal affairs is dealing with that.
Are they suspended?
And not yet.
Why?
Because they've been being charged to say that they must appear like that. But what happened, the first one was suspended for 3 months. You can only suspend a person for 3 months. After that, the person can come back, utilize that person in a different area rather than being an officer to act like that or in an office to work there until such time it goes on the process.
So what are you investigating them for or putting them through a disciplinary hearing for if there are no charges against them? Can you disclose those charges?
Well, some of them is that you bring the department into dispute is one of them. The other one is that utilizing of the vehicle, illegally, because it is said the officer left and went and do that. So we need to investigate that. And there's a lot that might come because we can't compare it to say we take it to Madlanga investigators and so, because they're still busy. So that we can handle. But in terms of us is the issues in terms of the utilization of the city's properties and in terms of your behavior, which is it gross negligent, insubordination. We deal with it that way.
So this officer that you're speaking about, is he linked to the KT Molefe incident?
I think it's the first one that they called, yes.
Just like that. That's not enough, fellow South Africans and fellow viewers. We even have the captain and head of the Hawks, General Sidona, who's heavily implicated in the Madlanga Commission. He was friends with Vusimuzi Matlala. I don't know if he's still friends with Vusimuzi Matlala, but their relationship was so shady because he was providing certain information, classified, important information to Vusimuzi Matlala. And we found out that he was helping, Vusimuzi Matlala was helping his son. He was involved in the drug bust and moved the consignment that was found to another storage, which was later stolen. Even with the recent testimonies that we heard from these people, the captains and generals that were involved in the drug bust from the Hawks, then somehow he was implicated. And it was even said that he was never supposed to actually be at that particular scene. Actually, he was accused by these members of the Hawks that he was never supposed to have taken that consignment. And what is worse is that even the commissioner said that this man was supposed to actually go through a polygraph test. He was supposed to actually be checked if whether he was lying regarding his involvement in this drug bust. He's just had an insane, questionable relationship with Vusimuzi Matlala and his involvement in a lot of issues with Vusimuzi Matlala. And later on, didn't even feel like the commission was fair and all of that. We're not hearing if whether this person went through disciplinary proceedings or what, but we are hearing that he's going back to work. His suspension has been uplifted with immediate effect. Let that sink in. Some of the allegations against Senona is that Senona maintained an improper, mutual beneficial relationship with MAKGATLE'S, a controversial businessman identified by police intelligence as an alleged drug cartel member. There's WhatsApp records introduced by the commission that shows Senona allegedly shared highly confidential police material with MAKGATLE'S. This includes sensitive police affidavits containing private data about active police officers and operational deployments.
Just accept the principle that it is wrong to share with Mr. MAKGATLE'S personal details of police officers and DPCI officers. That's all I'm putting to you. Not how many ID numbers are there. We can see that there are ID numbers there. In some places, the ID numbers are not there. But you have shared personal details of your subordinates, DPCI, KZN people. You've shared details of General Mchunu and his office and email address. You've shared details of crime intelligence officers, including their ID numbers, in circumstances where you know that MAKGATLE'S is under investigation by the very same institutions.
He's accused of using his position as an officer and office resources to assist MAKGATLE'S in attempting to secure a compromised 360 million subtender, which was LESETJA cancelled due to widespread irregularities. The evidence revealed that Senona actively advised MAKGATLE'S on how to legally challenge the cancellation of the contract. He was effectively acting as an advisor to a syndicate target rather than a neutral investigator.
When you received this letter of termination that's sent by the National Commissioner of Police, and you urge Mr. MAKGATLE'S to sue as a senior law enforcement official, you urge him to sue another law enforcement arm. Do you not think that that is improper conduct for someone in your position?
Commissioners, I never urged him to sue. My message here talks about challenging the decision to cancel the contract, not sue.
Through legal means?
Through a lawyer. Because
Yes.
I won't do it. I can't do it, and I won't do it.
Then when it comes to the irregularities in the Potchefstroom cocaine heist, we know that Major General Hendrik Flynn testified that Senona irregularly took personal possession of the physical keys to the SAPS 13 evidence vault, where the massive drugs were actually stored. Under the SAPS protocol, keys are strictly managed by designated evidence custodian, not provincial commanders. Because of his direct access to the secure facility before the break-in, Stars noted that Senona should have undergone a polygraph examination, a protocol he did not fulfill. While Senona claimed the building was broken into via an adjacent hardware store over a power outage weekend, subsequent testimonies by senior Hawks officers strongly imply internal collision, intentional tampering of this particular theft, and internal assistance of the people that actually ensured that this particular theft take place.
In my opinion, the cocaine seized in 2021 should never have been stored in Potchefstroom. The crime scene management failings compromised the integrity of the investigation, and the subsequent theft of the cocaine was severely compromised our ability to find the traffickers. That's why I'm reflecting now on all the other cases where predominantly the crime scenes were dealt with correctly, and the exhibits found its way into an SAP 13, remained in an SAP 13 at the police station. It was never stolen or tampered with, and then submitted to the FSL.
He was deceptive and invasive, very much under oath. Evidence brought by the commissioner's data analyst indicate that Senona allegedly lied under oath regarding the timeline of his relationship with MAKGATLE'S. While Senona testified that they cut ties with Matlala kingpin immediately upon finding out about his criminal connections, subsequent documents and digital data provided they remained in constant communication long after. So looking at that, this is a man whom they've decided that he should go back to work. Let that sink in. Then I wanted us to move quickly to Ekurhuleni. So Ekurhuleni is also facing the same problem. Ekurhuleni, guys, we know that there's officers that have been heavily implicated, especially Julius Mchunu. But now there was Lirutla was recently arrested in connection to a case of an unaliving as well as speeding tickets. And they were actually arrested together with Julius Mchunu. Lirutla has not yet been implicated in the Madlanga Commission. But we know that a lot of officers at Ekurhuleni have been heavily implicated. But we see Kagaza just priding himself on the fact that 15 officers are. What about Lirutla?
The latest reports that I have, we've got about 17 officials that are on suspension. Of the 24,000 employees, about 17 that are on suspension, and which includes the 4 senior officials that you would know. One was suspended because of the chief of police, the other one was because of the CIO, the other 2 relating to the Madlanga Commission, or the revelations and the corrective measures that we had to meet. And all in all is about 12.7 million rand that we annually that we actually pay for all these suspensions.
How far is the proceedings of disciplinary against Mchunu? All of that is very crucial information that we wanted to hear. With what we see right now, with the precedents, we can conclude that there's a high chances that these people will go back to work. All of this to them is just a game, and they're just, holding on for as long as they can, and they'll go back to work. South Africans, fellow viewers, the problem is not with the Madlanga commissions or the what commissions. Sometimes they do their work as diligent as they can. The problem now sticks to those people that have to ensure that they implement those recommendations. Because if they don't implement those recommendations, no matter what we can do, we can sit at the Madlanga until blood comes out. At the end of the day, the president has to implement those recommendations, but also respective departments have to implement those recommendations. We're not saying that Senona should never ever come back to work, but disciplinary proceedings. What are the outcomes of the disciplinary proceedings? You can't just say someone must go back to work with immediate effect. What are the reasons? The Hawks head has not even came forward to issue a statement or have a press brief giving the public reasons as to why they got into that particular conclusion. People are now left in the public making their own assumptions and their own conclusions. The people that are supposed to come to the public and actually tell us what is actually going on, they are here quiet. They are quiet. So all I'm saying is that I think that the Hawks should provide reasons. They have more to say. They should be coming to us and telling us that, okay, this is what we did. This is how we ended up reaching to these particular decisions. Same as the EMPD. They're supposed to come and tell us that this is how we got to this particular conclusion. After all the work, allegations, and the recommendations of the Madlanga Commission, I want you guys to see where the problem is. Because sometimes the problem is not with the commission. The commission is doing its work. Actually, they're doing more than what we could think. I wanted us to talk about what Fikile Mbalula said about Senzo Mchunu. So one of the first things that he was asked when he went to an ENCA interview was with regards to the second interim report of the Madlanga Commission and the recommendations thereof, and the inaction from the ANC with regards to Senzo Mchunu. And this is what he said, and the issue of us having to clap hands for him.
So he's still at home and looking at this commission to conclude its work.
So as the ANC, you okay with him just sitting at home?
Look, we are dealing with matters of integrity. A person guided by his own conscience chose to step aside to give this moment a chance. What else do you want from this comrade, this leader? That is what every citizen should applaud, because he has done the right thing. Madlanga Commission has not concluded its work. It has not said Senzo is on the wrong side. We can't act on prejudice about people. We must be guided by processes. But what a comrade, a cadre, a leader has done, it is applauded that voluntarily you take a decision to say, okay, I'm faced with this. I don't want my party to have a burden to explain itself about me. Let me stand for it.
If I say that I'm disappointed, it's an understatement, because the truth is that what more did I expect from the ANC? Because from the onset, they did make it clear that Senzo Mchunu has not finished his testimony at the Madlanga Commission, and therefore, according to them, he is not guilty. Up until he has completed his testimony at the Madlanga Commission, that is when they are going to say that he is guilty or he's innocent. What then shocked me even more, or what made me to be even worried about the issue of Senzo Mchunu, is that we were told not so long ago that Senzo Mchunu actually has went back to his work as an NC member and also as an NEC member, meaning that he's uplifted the step aside that he applied on himself. But we're hearing from Fikile Mbalula, contrary, a different story, saying that Senzo Mchunu is still at home, preparing for his testimony at the Madlanga Commission, since he's due to appear, especially in this particular leg that we are looking at, or the term that we are currently looking at of the Madlanga Commission.
Another matter, Senzo Mchunu, South Africans want to understand what's taking you so long in dealing with that. He previously made a comment that he's back with his responsibilities in the ANC, and there was confusion whether or not that was actually the case. Is he back when it comes to the responsibilities that he has in the ANC NEC?
He is not back. We have granted him his wish to step aside, even though the rule of step aside would not require him to do so. He voluntarily stepped aside, and therefore we have acted on that. We have granted him his wish to step aside. Senzo is not at ANC work. It's not in the doing ANC work up until the work of the Integrity Commission ends. He did at some point make a submission to want to come back. We advised against that.
I don't know who's lying, but what I know for sure is that there's just a lot of lies with the issue of Senzo Mchunu. And if the recommendations of the Madlanga Commission are not going to be adhered to in the issues of Senzo Mchunu, I wouldn't be shocked. In this video, you've seen 4 different examples of how people have ran away from accountability. From Sinona, Matloge, and many others like the EMPD officials that have not really adhered to the Madlanga Commission recommendations. They might have suspended their officials, but is a suspension really enough for us to say that actually there is an issue, these issues are actually attended to? There's a lot of confusion regarding what is actually going on with Sinona. Sinona's suspension was uplifted, as I've said in the beginning of this video, and he was asked to return to work with immediate effect. However, he is appealing his suspension. He's definitely dealing right now with the issue of his suspension, saying that the fact that he was suspended to begin with before he could even appear at the Madlanga Commission, because if you guys remember very well that he was part of the people that were recommended from the first interim report to be suspended, and therefore it seems like he was suspended following that, and is challenging that action to say that he was not supposed to be suspended to begin with, and that actually they were supposed to hear his case first before they suspend him.
These people. Now, among the names of the implicated law enforcement officials in the first report was Major General LESETJA Senona, the head of the KZN Hawks. We know he's been suspended, and just last week we broke the news that he received a letter that the suspension has been uplifted. He must collect the letter, and now we're just hearing in breaking news that he's now unhappy with that process, and he's now challenging it, probably even threatening legal action.
Actually, Mr. Senona is faced with a lot of scrutiny at the Madlanga Commission, and it's even worse now with the drug bust leg, where we are dealing with drug busts and how these exhibits get to be stolen, how these exhibits get to be contaminated, and how other people are subject to polygraph tests But with him, he did not even undergo through a process of polygraph test. I don't want to delve deep on the issue of the drug bust because I don't want to come here, guys, and just speak about something that I don't understand. I think that I need to rewatch the episodes on the drug bust so that we can have a much better understanding and conversation regarding these issues of the drug bust, especially the role that Sinona played, because it seems like he played a really big role together with Khan and Gadwa. Those are the three main officers, senior officers that we see now and again their names being mentioned at the Madlanga Commission in relations to these consignments or in the relations to these exhibits that are found and they are confiscated and they have to now be stored, and then it just so happens that they get lost. Nonetheless, guys, what do you think? Do you think that the Madlanga recommendations will actually be adhered to? Do you think that the ANC will actually act on Senzo Mchunu? Or you just think that they won't? We can spend all the time we want, bleed, be green, be maroon, speak, debate, watch the proceedings for 8 hours and still not get justice because it's just recommendations. It's not like they will be forced for them to implement. They'll just be told that this is what they're supposed to do, and it is then up to them for them to decide. Anyone who's implicated or any office that has been mentioned, it is then up to them to decide if whether they want these matters to be dealt with. Nonetheless, guys, let me hear your thoughts. Let me hear what you think. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on my next upload. Bye.